Welcome back to the OPL. It is week number 10, and we just saw Chiefs have a little bit of fun there with Gravitas. It was a creative draft. There was a lot of flexing of comfort picks, solo queue style, Tryndamere being busted, Tryndamere getting shut down, and a lot of R buttons being pressed, and sometimes not even being able to get activated there, Rusty.
Yeah, look, that is what happens when peak League of Legends becomes a for-fun experience. And then at a certain point, the Chiefs were like, it's not fun anymore. TN might have had a cry, and then the team was like, all right, we'll win the game. And I mean, what more can you say about a game like that, Skibby?
It's what the viewers want, right? Fun. They want entertainment to finish off this week, and they want to have a bit of meat to sink themselves into, right? To get them excited for what is left to come in this day. And we still do have 3 more games left on the cards. So we've got Direwolves taking on Audit. That's coming up next. Pentanet Gaming taking on Mammoth. And then to final close out week 10, to close out the end of Split 1, it is Legacy taking on Chiefs. So plenty more League of Legends action here in the OPL to sink your teeth into. But that game that we just witnessed for sure was a lot of fun.
It was a game of League of Legends, Skibby. So let's just cover some bases here, because I'm sure people will be very confused. The Nick Boy experience that we're all currently not getting.
I know.
He's running into some tech troubles once again. We managed to get him back for a second, and then he seemed fine, and then we lost him all over again. So hopefully we get him back again soon, which means that all of these segments, when you're planning, Skibby, when you're coming into it, you're like, all right, we're going to do a Nick Bag segment. Nick's going to lead us through everything. He has the emails. He's the one with the damn laptop. And then they're like, he can't be on this segment, so just talk about League of Legends. And you're like, all right, that's fine. We do that for a living. Like, that's not a problem at all. And then you think about, what was that last game? And what is the next game? And none of it matters the same amount as Nick Bag does in your mind, because they are playing for fun. So, what do we talk about? What do we talk about?
You know what I really wish we could talk about is the fact that Nick hasn't actually provided us with his login for the Nick Boy MPL segment of checking those emails, because I would love to just be able to jump in there and just take that segment over for him and sort of add that kind of creative flair that he does. But, we all do mourn the loss of Nick, and if you're listening in there, buddy, from wherever you may be, if that may be on your phone, then we all miss you.
Just jump in his voice channel and say all that anyway. I mean, you can get away with that. And just while we're here, Chaos Josh just said in the chat to me before, did I not make my bed? Is that why I've got a backdrop? No, I have a backdrop so you can't see the bed. This is a very different concept. I just don't think having a bed in the background's the most professional looking thing ever. So enjoy the fact that for the first time in my entire life, I have a working camera, so you don't get to see the bed. But Skimmy's made his bed very nicely. I think that helps.
It actually looks very clean. I've actually been memed about how bad my room looks like, but quite honestly, I don't really care. I don't really need much more for it, right? I'm here to play video games. I'm not here to look at the wall. Do I just look at the wall all day and be like, this is so aesthetically pleasing to my eyes. I feel so much more in zen. Who knows? Who cares?
You don't do it for you, Skibby. You do it for the viewers. Like right now, I think all you need is to add to that collection, right? And eventually it'll be an interesting wall for everyone to inspect.
I don't know what else I can add. I was like wondering, you know how like streamers like have those like LED panels and whatnot all over their wall and whatnot? Maybe I need to do that. But maybe I just need to spend a solid like couple of hours just sitting down, looking through what I could buy on eBay, and then getting this room ready for playoffs.
Yeah, maybe. There's also those really cool Tetris lights. You could add those in, maybe with the corner background.
What should I do? Like a big S? I don't know what I could do there. Or should I just make OPL out of Tetris blocks? Would that be meta?
I mean, you could do. I think the S would be easier. The full OPL logo might be a little bit too many of those Tetris light blocks.
Maybe I'll just blow my entire budget.
I don't know how long we have here, but we may as well just answer some of these questions that we're getting in chat, because they're obviously responding to us saying we don't know what to talk about because the planned segment's out the window. So
just get a green screen. I have a green screen. I've just not decided to put it up. I could just chroma myself into the beaches in Hawaii, but who knows? Maybe that's not what they want.
Probably not with the political climate at the moment, Skibby. I think we'll avoid Hawaii for as long as we can. Hey, there's a question there from Tone. What game other than League would you go pro in? And I know that you can't say the obvious answer.
Yeah, I can't say the obvious answer, but if I was a few years younger, I would definitely go pro in Valorant. I reckon FPS is where my strengths are at. I feel like I'm a very twitchy, reactive kind of gamer, so anything that's fast-paced, definitely suits my niche. So that would have been something that I would have definitely, if I was young. It's interesting, right? Because you look at you look at younger people. And I'm 16 years old. I'm now going to become like a Pro League of Legends player. You got like the likes of Vital in here at 17, and you feel like you're a boomer when you're only 26. It's so interesting how gaming has such a short lifetime on a career.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is weird. I think that with some games though, there's longevity. Like it depends on the game. You know, a lot of League of Legends players are now getting on in age. Some of the long-standing pro players. So
yeah,
I think it is an interesting experience to see how all of these younger players come in and they're excited. And you're like, hang on, there's a whole new generation of people playing the game that I play. I think that's really cool.
I think I'm really excited because you know how like in traditional sport, you've got like ex-professionals that have retired, they've had families, and then their kids then grow up to become like professional football players, for instance. We were joking about it before on stream with Jake, and I was like, you know, is there a world in which maybe, you know, Jasper becomes like a pro, right? Wouldn't that be kind of cool to see that, you know, you were involved, be it in a broadcast management or whatever kind of capacity, and then your kid is there and you're like, yes, I can culture you into the perfect player, so to speak.
I don't know if Jake will do that, but that is interesting. I think the generational video gaming is a concept that I don't know if we'll ever see because new games come out far too frequently for that to actually take place. I'm not going to answer the questions about my PBs on lifts. I feel very self-conscious about that because the gym's shut and it just makes me feel bad.
We had a laugh about that, right? Because during rehearsal, you were like, I miss the gym. And then I was like, oh, you miss E-Gym? Because that was what was playing at the time, right? And then you're like, no, I don't care about him. He's gone. He's a thing of the past. I care about the actual gym. And, well, Bryce, if you're watching, mate, I'm sorry that you got publicly roasted like this. I'm sure you didn't want to find out about it like this way.
It's, look, at the end of the day, we do miss him, but he has left us to bigger, better things. It's unfortunate what's happening with Bryce, but we move on. Hopefully things work out for him. We're excited to get into our next game soon, not too far away. I didn't say anything about E-Gym, just so we're clear. I said I miss the gym. And E-Gym was playing in the background. It was our historic cast. And Skibby thought I said the E-Gym. Okay? I said nothing bad about him. I like E-Gym.
Look how good it is. You say one thing and chat just goes off into an absolute disarray. Eh? You can't say anything these days. These people are on, yeah. But what is also on is the next game. As you can see from the preview there, it is going to be Direwolves taking on Order. We're only a couple of minutes away from Champion Select, so hold your horses. We'll get there in the meantime. And yeah, I think really for Direwolves, we've obviously got to highlight the fact that they are incredibly strong, but sometimes their momentum has been shifted around. But Order definitely having a lot of fun with this one. So both these teams are guaranteed, obviously, to make it into the playoffs. Direwolves taking the 3rd seed, Order taking the 4th. So pretty close as it can get going into this one. It is obviously a best of 1, best of 5s to come next weekend when those finals begin. So I am curious, given that these two teams, in a way, don't have anything to play for, if they're going to give us the fiesta like last game.
Oh, maybe. I mean, so that's where I wanted to start as well, right? Like, what will we get? Will it be like last game? This game, all it means, nothing. Order played pretty seriously in their first game, and Direwolves are off the back of a 0-2 day, and I wouldn't expect them, of all teams, to come into this one and have a very fun game. You know, if they wanted to bring back form, I actually expect that they'll take it pretty seriously. It's just a feeling. I have no confirmations. They might already be on social media saying things like, we're just going to have fun. You never know. Tally tweeted before that they wanted to play Rebels before they actually played a TFT comp in League, so that could be out there. We don't know.
We'll have to wait and see, because there's always that interesting moment when the season comes to an end and the stakes are a little bit lower than it would have been otherwise, and sort of getting that rare glimpse, right, into... Well, these teams can relax a bit more than they would usually, right? And it's that kind of unique opportunity to do it for your fans, maybe a little bit of fan tributing, if you will, right? Kind of like what we saw in the previous game with some solo queue flair, some Riven Critical Strike gaming, and obviously the classic interview there with Tim just being grabbed from wherever he was in the house and just come in here, mate. Look, you know, this is a gaming house. This is the Legacy 2.0 gaming house. Get in here, mate, and just, you know, add your 2 cents to this conversation.
It helps that he's sitting there in the lounge room with you on the TV calling his name out. So from wherever
I literally
you are,
opened the door. I was like,
just
Carbon, wherever you are. And then, like, literally, like a summoned dog came crawling to my room. Nah, I joke. Me and Tim,
great. Just roll with it.
Me and Tim get along really, really well. Like two peas in a pod. He loves me. Or maybe it's only one way, but who knows? I imagine it's reciprocal. I'm just going to say it's reciprocal. But regardless,
I'm just going to let you keep talking, Skivvy, because you're just digging. You're just digging.
It's digging, it's digging, and it's digging, and it's digging into Champion Select. So let's jump into it. It's going to be Direwolves taking on Order.
Feeling the heat? Grab a pineapple or pineberry frozen Fanta mix at Macca's. With 36 flavours, it's the largest range in Australia. Grab one for only $1. A little goes a long way at Macca's.
Welcome back as we jump into the Macca's Champions League for game number 4. It is Direwolves going to the Rift to take on the Order, the Melbourne Warriors, if you will. As we crack on into this one with Order getting the first pick and already disabling the likes of the Misfortune with the Ornn in quick pursuit. I'm really curious to see really what these teams are going to crack on with. You mentioned Order needing consistency or needing form, and that they will be looking to take this one seriously. If not, Direwolves are in the same situation because they've in a few games looked a little bit shaky.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a momentum game, 100% for both of these teams, right? You want to try and get something going for you before the playoffs do start. Order will be playing first. I think Direwolves are in the second round, so they're the two of the teams we'll see play first. So definitely want to start building up towards that moment. I mentioned it before already, just before Champ Select. Direwolves probably going to take this one seriously. They'll have a point to prove after yesterday, and Order, we already saw them take it seriously, and they do have a pretty big joking bone in their body. Like there is a chance that they just mix it up and play something extremely fun for the sake of it, but I don't think we'll get to see that.
We'll have to wait and see, decide how Order want to open things up with, and it is going to be a first pick on towards Kalista. Whether or not that's an indication of a Kalista Taric bot lane, or if it will be a Kalista solo in at the top lane, we'll have to wait and find out. I think for me personally, as a fan of both of these teams, I'm really excited for the mid lane matchup, given how both of these players are in hot form right now.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm actually, like, there's a few matchups that interest me in this game. Like, Hayri being able to play the Yasuo against someone like Shock, who has his pocket picks, is going to be an interesting one. Vital, when he's in good form, is probably one of the best ADCs, if not the best. Running around in the OPL, challenging someone like Raze, but when Rare's on his good day, he can keep up with the best of them. Last year, when you think back to all of the Gauntlet games that Order were running through, he was a big part of it. You know, he was playing the Xayah Rakan with Jake, and they were just tearing everybody up in the bottom lane in the OPL. So there's a lot of form check stuff here that I think is super interesting and actually provides an overall very exciting game.
Well, Direwolves going to respond to open this draft up with the Varus and couple that with the Jarvan as well. So some reliable engage. Plenty of CC. That makes team fighting very desirable for them. Order going to respond and they will commit to that bot lane. Taric is now in place. And after the performance that only had on that Sejuani prior today, then absolutely fantastic and stick with it.
We've seen an unbelievable amount of Kalista and Taric just start to appear out of thin air. And, you know, Taric is one of those champions that is kind of always on the cusp of being good. Kalista's one of those champions that's either really good or not good at all. And it's interesting because, you know, the resurgence of a top Kalista existing suddenly does bring it back the idea of, like, why don't I just play in my normal role? Like, why don't we just play Kalista where she's actually normally known? And things like that start to crop up. It's not the Tristana Taric, which is one of the things that brought Taric about, but it's the next iteration.
The next version, which is finding great success so far, obviously with the double ultimates for survivability. Shock's going to finalize this mid matchup and say, I don't care about going for the matchup. I'm going to go in blind here. He goes in with that Syndra. He's played it the most out of all of his games, the split so far. Going to be comfortable on plenty of burst. An easy target to assist with those ganks coming in from Jarvan.
Yeah, the thing with Shock and his role in the team is he's very comfortable just picking a champion blind. He has the Cassiopeia, he has the Syndra. They're two of the staples that he often just picks and will deal with the consequences afterwards if necessary. But usually it'll be like 1 or 2 bans, maybe just 1 ban that goes for him because they'll tend to pick it third. So they pick third, they ban the Yasuo, which is one of the counters to Syndra and one of Hayri's best champions with the Sejuani already there in the comp. They make things a little bit harder still for Order, but at the same time, it's still a Syndra blind. They could still go Vladimir, they could still go Echo if they wanted in mid lane, something that we've been seeing a little bit of, and try and take that Syndra down.
Well, the Bard ban is fantastic. Obviously, the magical journey or the ability to obviously lock people in a stasis would really shut down what Order are trying to achieve, especially within that small window of invulnerability. Bard, not a bad option to follow things up with there. The concussive blow passive to freeze them. Yes, you might not be able to do damage or kill them, but you'll be at least allowed to slow or CC them. A nice pick here to make them have an incredibly strong bot lane now.
Yeah, and a decent pick there for the Braum. Braum Varus is, obviously, it's a well-rounded strong lane. You're looking towards Order's side here now. They've gone for the Renekton. A lot of champions that are bruisers that deal damage go hand in hand with something like a Taric, because then the bruiser becomes a tank. You've got that extra duration where you're completely invincible for damage taken and you're able to put out boatloads yourself. So I like this idea here from Order. Hayri, classic. He's going to go to the known. He's going to go to what he's very good at. And they're going to give themselves a lot of extra scaling, much needed in their comp.
Absolutely. You talk about the scaling component. Obviously, Azir is the king of that, but they will have the strength during the early games with the Kalista as well as the Renekton. And you know, we keep going back to this point of, will we see Renekton get more of a priority? And it hasn't necessarily always been the case. A lot of that is because Set is still the king and followed that by Ornn. The final pick here will be the Aatrox, as both compositions are now finalized. And if you were to be a betting man now, Rusty, if you were to look at this draft and say, I prefer this one, we talk about ease of execution, who do you think has the better chance here?
I personally am a fan of Order's draft, but I do think that while I prefer it, that may just be a personal preference thing. There is still an abundance of kill threat on Direwolf's side, and that's what's interesting to me. It's a pretty common trend, honestly, with a lot of the junglers that we're seeing now. You've got your Varus Braum, and then you've got a Jarvan in that lane. So suddenly they've got a very high kill threat if the Jarvan appears. Aatrox and Renekton's kind of just a healing lane. Renekton maybe with the advantage early, but one bad trade or one mistake in a lane and suddenly an Aatrox runs away with it. And a similar thing can be said for mid lane. You know, I think that Azir and Syndra are both mid-range in terms of strength, but if there's a jungler near one of them, then they just outright win. If there's a good trade, they just outright win. So it's a snowbally game, but I personally prefer Order's draft.
Well, regardless, I'm very excited to see what these teams can do with drafts. They definitely complement their styles, their agenda here of getting some form and getting themselves ready for next week to get themselves in the best possible position to get in with a chance of taking it all. And we're going to crack on into game very shortly. But Order taking on Direwolves is a battle of the playoffs. It's a battle of the Titans. It's a battle of really proving that you are strongest in your role. And I think really for me, I mentioned before that I'm really looking forward to mid lane, but bot lane should prove to be a big skill check too.
Yeah, absolutely. Jungle's also a pretty big skill check. It looks like Mir has kind of dropped off in form yesterday when you were looking at his performances compared to the norm. So he's obviously going to be someone that you have to look towards. What can he get done? Yeah. It does seem to like going towards things like a Sylas himself, so it's good to see him back on the likes of the Jarvan to try and really be active around the Rift and make things happen, because it's much needed for a side like Direwolves. And they've got Cupcake back. It's not going to be Decoy. They shared games yesterday, but it's Cupcake starting in the only game they've got today. And so once again, he's going to come back in, probably, I have to assume, playing from New Zealand while they're in lockdown, trying to make plays across the pond.
It's interesting, right, when you talk about New Zealand, because you have the ping that we were hearing was going to be maybe a potential factor for Order playing out of Melbourne with the servers hosted in Sydney. Well, obviously that factor gets worse when you're in New Zealand. You're looking at 50, 60 ping on average. So it's interesting, right, because I remember once upon a time when we were all playing League and we would be playing on what, NA servers, 150, 200 ping would have been the standard, right? And it's very easy to forget, but you know that would have been fine once upon a time. And then once O servers came out, you're thinking, well, how did I ever survive on 200 ping? How have I ever done this before? So it gets to the situation of comfort, and then you're like, yeah, you definitely notice the difference between 10 and 50. You definitely notice it between 10 and 20.
Dude, once you get a taste of the finer side of life, though, why would you ever want to go back? You know, 150 ping, it was playable. but that's because we didn't know better. If you go from like a 10 ping server to 150, you wouldn't want to play.
Absolutely
That'd be a nightmare. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, Skibby, but there was a period where like your ping would fluctuate depending on the game. Like as an Oceanic player, you would log in, you'd jump into the Rift, and you'd have 180 ping in one game, and you're like, sick. And you play the next game, and it was 220. And then you play the third game, and it was a lucky dip. You just never really knew. Like, imagine dealing with that. A fluctuating ping from, like, 8 to 48 in any particular game. It would be just gnarly.
I wonder what you had to, like, sacrifice, say. Is it like an RNG blessing so that you got a desirable ping to maybe win your promos or to potentially get a good scrim or tournament result, right? It would have been an absolute disaster, which may be the fate here for Harry as he jumps on in. And he's going to get exhausted as Mira will be forced to back away. Flash is held onto, however. So that is a win in terms of mobility here.
Yeah, definitely. But to my point that I made earlier, you know, a bit of extra lane pressure and suddenly Shock's going to have control of the lane itself. That does mean that the door opens for further aggression from Mir, though he's going to be slightly behind in terms of camp clear, as only will have that advantage there. And if there's one thing that we could note from this weekend's games, it's that giving only a camp lead is risky. Where not a lot of other junglers will punish super hard, he seems to find a way to do so very effectively.
No, it's action in the mid lane again. And Shock will have that cleanse that he can use, if he wants to, rather aggressively to deny the stun or even the exhaust. But bot lane is definitely getting itself in check right now with the Direwolves finding the prio, allowing Miru multiple options on where he wants to gank.
I have a question for you. Who has the most champions played in the OPL split?
It's a very good question. I feel like you had to actually do it manually, because I'm looking here at the website.
I know the answer. It's a question for you.
If I know off the top of my head.
Yeah, have a go. Who do you think it is?
That's a very good question. I want to say Shock.
It's not Shock. He's in the top 5 though.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Shock's definitely played a lot.
He has a lot of unique champions. We might have to hold the conversation if this gank does go off. I will give you a hint. It is a mid laner.
Definitely not Tally because he's only just started.
Yeah, he only plays top laners.
And I think Harry's played a lot, but I don't think he's number 1. I'm racking my head here. Who would it be?
You're getting through the few of the teams.
You're getting through the plays in this game, at least. Who would have played the most? That is a good question. That is a very good question.
The answer is Lived. Remember.
Has he actually played that many?
He has played 15 individual champions out of what was 18 games when I checked it, and he was well and truly above anyone else. Second was Ayla, which is why I bring that up. He's actually played 12 champions in the support role, which is nuts.
That's impressive.
And then Shock.
Yeah, I knew Shock would definitely be up there because he's always been very confident in the pick ban phase, just to go blind into matchups, not really care. Yeah, getting maybe a ban towards him to help, but I wouldn't have imagined Ayla to be that high up.
Yeah. You never know with someone like Ayla. He's always been, like, when you cast your mind back to last year's League of Legends games, Jarvan was a support for like a one patch period of time. Ayla was playing it. He played it in the OPL. Like, he is one of those guys, you know, that will be very happy to bring out something new or something different, something even creative, perhaps. So it didn't surprise me too much when I saw that, but I didn't think he'd be second.
It's always interesting looking at stats, right? Because they, on their own, might not tell much of a story, but then when you look at it in perspective, you think, oh yeah, it's been 10 weeks of gaming. And this guy is definitely very flexible, one to really meet the meta and the change that the patches will present.
Most definitely. You know, taking stock of this top lane while we're looking at it as well. Skibby Swiper doing pretty much as expected in that 1v1. Renekton does have a lot of earlier extra heal over that of his opponent in the Aatrox. It starts to change a little bit from like level 7, maybe level 6 onwards once Aatrox gets that ultimate, because the threat of his healing does increase a lot by using that R button. But so far, so standard, really, across the map. Only's done pretty much what we expected of him as well. That one camp lead, that bit of extra tempo has actually accelerated him. And there was more time spent from Mira around the mid lane hovering to protect it after that. So finds himself pretty well off here only, getting closer to 6 as he does actually smite that away.
He does. Jungler's going to meet as Miro is forced to disengage away to the safety of his bot lane turret. Only's not going to give up on that, however. He's still hanging around here. He's still posturing at the question of, do I go for this fight? And the Order duo definitely hot on their heels, ready to jump to meet that call if it were required. But Dragon is now the question, and Dragon is what's going to be started here by Order.
Yeah, Mir now sneaks his way into the bush. Doesn't actually have the flag or drag, so if Order check him, he's just going to have to auto-attack and use the W. He doesn't know that Only's doing Drake. They're on.
Well, they definitely are on. Ayla's going to open up with a Dazzle in what was going to be an aggressive nature to start with, and with Only still on that Drake, a first blood is going to be picked up here by Vital. The Dragon is completed, and they're not going to come for any form of retaliation. It's a kill for a Drake. Mid lane River is where the fight takes place. No summoners burnt. But Hayri definitely taking a lot of damage there.
Yeah, Shock actually using his ultimate just for poke, just to try to chunk out his opponent, but Hayri goes towards him, gets the shield off. Fight happening once again in top lane. It's an Executioner's calling for Swiper, so trying to really win those trades and then heal his way back up. An even trade is a win for Swiper, but unfortunately for him, doesn't come out too far ahead in that one. Nothing really doing.
Nothing really doing. We do expect to see a Blade of the Rune King be the rush option now for the Renekton, but the Executioner's a slight delay on that, but obviously very much needed for this 1v1 matchup if he stands a chance of really going toe-to-toe in these extended skirmishes. Maybe that one not looking the most desirable, but subsequent ones to follow may ring a different tune. As we're going to see now what appears to be a lane swap, as Ayla's already showing his face and his presence here in the mid lane, and with Rare now recalling, Direwolves are already the first ones to respond to the call.
Yeah, for me, it's often just what you should do as a support. I think that it is a very bad decision to play support in League of Legends, and when you reset, not try and influence a lane that isn't where your 2v2 is, as Cupcake is gone.
Well, he wants to definitely influence. Only jumps on in, not going to use that flash, but he's definitely going to land that ultimate, and it's going to spell the end of Cupcake. Falls on down, and now they can rotate towards the Rift Herald, which Miro was almost looking like he wanted to start, but no longer a possibility.
Yeah, once again, Mir behind it experience. It's 6-5 between these junglers. Mir once again looking for a gank while Only continued to farm, but he hits 6 and immediately gets active on the map. This Sejuani finds his mark, and at the same time, it was Ayla moving through mid lane to top where that starts to happen. Cupcake face checking that bush. I think he just expected to find a Taric. I don't think he expected a level 6 Sejuani, as Mir...
He doesn't care. He just jumps into the face of adversity. He finds the kill. He cataclysms out to make sure that he has some form of influence on this ensuing team fight. It's going to be a double kill here for Kalista. Rare is on the score sheet and now running with the wind. Picks up a triple.
Yeah, 3 big kills going to the Kalista. I mean, a curious flash from Shock towards the team when he had a Varus above him maybe could have helped. At the end of the day, Direwolves once again go hunting for these kills, and they lose out very clearly on their opponents. You can see the attempted smite steal from Mir. I believe it's Only who even picks up the buff after winning that battle. And then tick 6 with that kill, but really it's inevitable. And then you can see Shock's flash there. I think he was going towards Cupcake just because he was on the screen. But a flash upwards may have bought him a little bit of extra time, and that could have been time where Cupcake survived that fight, as it was 3 kills to Rare.
We've seen this happen multiple times today, where the Kalista is given many kills and starts to run away with the game. And whether or not the narrative for this game spells disaster as a result of this one, only 10 minutes in, definitely going to make them quite fit. But the gold differences aren't that major at this stage. Only a 400 gold difference for Order to navigate and work with. But definitely signs of what to expect here.
Yeah, most definitely. Starting to build towards those Blade of the Ruined Kings as well, waiting for those item spikes. It's worth noting that Hayri, while he was pretty far behind, and it was done by Direwolves with that early pressure, he has still gotten to those Merc trades and will just be able to safely farm from this point onwards. Very hard to take him down with all of the mobility that he actually has with the dash. He's got the blue buff, and with the Merc trades to reduce the stun duration of the Syndra. That was really the only threat that existed in that lane. Probably won't find himself with any threat from Vital or Cupcake if they continue to side lane, now that Rare is 3-0, because the pressure from him starts to mount up very quickly.
Well, would have the sights set on the bottom lane. Going to do as much damage as they can to this turret before the Rift Herald is spawned. Ideally looking for 2 turret plates to remain for the full one-shot headbutt to come on through. Be very close towards it. But regardless of it, they will take down that turret. It is the first one of the game. And they get the ball running in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and it's a 2,000 lead that starts to stretch out from this one. Once they get their resets off and get to spend all of that money that they earned in bottom lane, it will show us they're diving.
They are absolutely diving. Mirror caught under his tower. The flash goes out, so only drops turret aggro. A second headbutt comes through, and they compound this lead that is found in the bottom lane. 2 turrets and a kill. Order definitely finding success here.
Yeah, Mir falls prey to the game of chicken, 100%. You know, you don't often expect a lot of teams to get that second push to actually threaten the inner turret. Usually they'll just corral Herald into charge and then they'll leave and they'll say that was good 1.5 turrets. But Order, they dash over the wall, they use their ultimates and they lock Mir down, now 1 and 2. He is definitely struggling on the map. The second only hit 6. His impact has just been huge.
An absolute snowball affair right there that really came across with a second Drake now being picked up here. With Order working towards one of those being a win condition with the soul point to come online. It is going to be a rift of many different clouds, as mobility will be the theme and ultis will be a few. So need to see how Direwolves get themselves into the game. It was a close one beforehand, but now as a result of what happened in bot lane with all those structures falling on down, that gold lead starts to blow wide open at 3k now.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, all we're looking for at this point in the game is for Order to try and consolidate that lead even further and actually snowball the game out effectively. Direwolves have got a lot of pick potential. A Syndra stun, a Braum, especially if you face check it, Jarvan and Varus ultimate, so they could lock someone down and pick off individuals very easily. But if you were Order, you know, the lead's not too significant, it's building, but you've got a very big Kalista to rally behind. You're actually finally hitting those item spikes, and you should be able to make an influence on the map as, once again, these two just unrelenting fighting.
Always looking for it, but you can understand why, because those Blade of the Rune Kings are online for both Renekton and the Kalista. Plenty of damage. Not to mention that Rare also has the Tabbies as well, which may come in clutch as a tower dive has been threatened here. 4 members wanting to pincer on towards this turret.
Yeah, they're going to lose mid for it, though.
Yeah,
so
mid
if they commit to this, yeah, they have to commit now. It's on.
Well, Cosmic Radiance is going to come on out. 2.5 seconds as ball time is made, and the jump on in with a teleport. Rare does the damage, and he dashes out of that Cataclysm, steals away the mobility, finds himself a double, gets a triple, and my oh my, Direwolves, you've lost so much tempo and so much off that one play. Now, he's 6-0.
Yeah, that was honestly not very good there from Direwolves. I think they made the mistake and then they were like, well, we're here and they're already pushing mid lane, so we have to commit to this one. We have no choice. Renekton comes in with a teleport immediately and a preemptive Taric ultimate as well. And then a fantastic stun combo from Ayla and Rare, who has both of his summoners, by the way, and didn't need to use them at the start of the dive because of the Taric ultimate. They continued to dive that one. Not very good to see from the Direwolves, but extremely well handled by Order.
A very rough tower dive there. As you can see how the fight started out, so many ways for them to avoid any damage, avoid any attention, obviously buying enough time for Swiper to come on in. But the fact is now, we mentioned, would this be signs of time to come? Well, Rare 7 at 6-0 can definitely 1v9 this game now.
Yeah, like, Cupcake's dead, so let's just... Oh! I mean, is he? He's not dead. Hey, somehow he's not dead, Skibby.
Curse.
Anyway.
It always happens that way. You say it,
yeah,
it won't happen.
I said it. God, I'm just going to be silent from now on. That's how we fix this, right? No, it's going to be very hard to deal with Rare when he's 6-0. Excuse my horrific, not intentional play-by-play off that one. But there are still tools that can kill him, which is what I was trying to say before I stuttered my way into oblivion. Like, the smallest a bit of crowd control does ruin Kalista's tempo pretty aggressively. So it needs to be hopping around pretty effectively to continue to put the damage out. But I think with a Taric there, once their summoners are back up, will be hard to deal with. But that does mean the window exists.
What we need, right, for this to be the perfect game is we need him to be 7-0, so he will be the Rare 7, because that is a hard achievement to hit, right? 7-0. I feel like that would be then, you know, you take that clip, that soundbite, that moment in the game, you make that your little highlight reel right there. That's your little League of Legends OPL CV on display. My name
I mean, we
means
could
something.
give him a soundbite of rare 7 deaths in mid lane by himself every time in mid game, but we'll let it go with the 7-0 instead.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
I enjoy it more. Rare 7-0 no's in mid lane.
Well, regardless, Order are now going to pick themselves up another Rift Herald and make things that much easier as Swiper responds back to the long lane, going for the matchup. Been very quiet here for Direwolves. 8 kills to 2. They've yet to really look towards a full-on commitment of a fight. We can imagine with these Drakes getting close to the soul point and Baron only 3 minutes away, it'll be do or die for them then.
Yeah, this dragon I don't think could ever be contested. Direwolves are too fresh off the reset to even get to the area in time. They have no vision really set up in the area at all. They're also not really hitting the item spikes on some of the necessary members, so the Gargoyle Stone Plate being completed for the Braum so that he can actually stand in front of his team for at least a little bit longer is going to be pretty crucial here for Direwolves and their team fighting. And an item at all for Chippies is going to be very valuable, as he's still stuck on 3 current components and hasn't even upgraded those boots. So they're just waiting for those at the moment. So sacrificing this dragon, while it feels really bad, because it does put soul point there for Order, is probably the correct move.
There's your highlight. Aatrox still working towards making that Black Cleaver a reality. Shock only sitting on the Ludens right now, and Miru still trying to keep active on the map. He's obviously got the boatload of the deaths on his team, but a lot of that has been as a sacrificial lamb. You know, before he dies, the Cataclysm comes down to prevent members chasing on through. Regardless, he still wants a piece of the pie.
I don't think he should ever look at someone 5 levels above him like a juicy target to murder, so I think that was just... He's lucky that he's able to play zoning D and actually protect Vital as he goes for the turret, and that will be taken. So not too bad, all things considered, but yes. Mir is level 7, by the way.
And that has to be the talking point. Level 7 is lower than the support.
He's 2 levels lower than the support of Order. I think that's a 9. I have so many pixels on my screen. But he's 3 levels behind only as well on the Sejuani. Like, this is not a good time to be a Jarvan.
Very rough game for him so far. And it's going to be scary because obviously only will know of that. And those 50-50s, if it were to come down to that, will be that much better for Order to contest. There goes the Glacial Prison. Or the Glacial Fissure. It's essentially a prison because you're locked in place.
Don't worry, we all get those ones mixed up.
There's so many different glacial terms, isn't there?
There sure is. And fissures and frozens.
It's everything. But regardless, frozen ice. I don't know, snow cones were thrown onto the ground. A disengage comes out. Order continue to put their pressure on the map, sitting topside as a 1v1 takes place again. And Big Swips with the damage. We'll make sure that Chippies knows of it. Does have that Black Cleaver completed now, and a Warhammer as well, so CDR is nearing that 40%. We'll disengage away. Slice and dice, not able to chase.
Yeah, Direwolves. Mir still sitting in the bush, hasn't been spotted. The fight's on.
The fight is most certainly on. Tarek is the one to lead the charge, making everybody go. Shine bright like a diamond. They're at karaoke right now because they are sticking to their heart's content. They are finding kills. They, first of all, abuse the underlevel jungler. Harry jumps in and takes out the support. They look for a third, and Rare, well, it will be a Rare 7. He's not able to get the clean score. He will fall on down, but not without Varus paying the price as well. Now Order turn their attention to the top side. They look to take down the turret and open up a potential inhibitor.
Yeah, just trying to stay defiant here. The Kiwi solo lane is in arms. Chippies and Shock survive. Mir comes back alive because he's such a low level. His death timer is non-existent. Hayri still threatening aggressively if he can turn this one around, but he doesn't have his ult and he does not have flash. So they will choose the safe option here. And it is Rare that unfortunately will be the one who goes down, and deservedly with a lot of focus going towards him. We'll see this once again as it is Order flashing in, but it was also Direwolves on the flank. And that's how a lot of this starts. Now, Chippies dashes over the wall to safety, and then Rare actually loses his Ayla for a second. You're like, okay, they've won the fight. And then you look away for 1 second to top lane, and Syndra just pops a Kalista because of her ultimate. So That's simple, 950 gold in the pockets of the Aatrox, but meanwhile, Order still winning the whole game instead.
They absolutely are. And a lot was burnt on both ends of the stick to make something happen there. Look how many flashes now remain. Only the supports still the sole survivors to make something happen. And both actually have a good time of utilizing that flash to make a dazzle connect or to make a connection happen on the other end. As Cupcake, well, he meets what Azir can do. That means you get displaced and you get picked off.
And as time passes, everyone will start to learn what Azir does more and more. This game is going from bad to worse fast, and it looks like any kind of mid-game hiccups that we've seen from Order here and there are not going to happen. This is the last stand for Direwolves. If they can actually get this Baron, if they can push them off the fight, maybe they buy some more time. They know it's being done. But if Order gets this, it could just be lights out.
They are shredding through this Baron very, very quickly. 3-level difference on that smite. If Miru were to look to contest, he's not going to be able to find it. He's going to fall on down very quickly as Kalista, of all things, actually secures it. Now they can rotate and turn their attention with 25 seconds on Soul Point towards the bottom side of the river. And Order can look to try and close out this game.
And that's the thing, right? You're never going to be able to outsmite the Sejuani with a 3-level difference, let alone a Sejuani with a Kalista to stack their damage together. As long as the side of Order are communicating, they'll always outsmite their opponent jungler, even if Mir was 3 levels ahead. So very well done there from Order. It's not really a 50-50 when you've got a Kalista on your team. You have the advantage as Swiper at least forces the ult out of Chippy's there.
They both go dancing as they dash across the wall, drawing the attention of their teammates to try and make it a fight that works for them. Ultimates will be used on both ends. Both will go for a disengage, but Cupcake again found in the wrong place. He's going to get jumped upon. An 0-6. Definitely not having a good game.
Not at all. Unfortunately, the supports have been having a really hard go of it on Direwolves' team at the moment, but it's a byproduct of the team itself. It's not the individual, at least in this game. There's a whole lot of other problems that they'll need to be attacking. Order continue to snowball this game out very effectively, finding people in side lanes, catching them before they can get their recalls off. And that bad to worse moment is potentially just seconds away.
Oh, they actually went for the flash to lock that CC onto Shock. Nobody there to support him. Halo on one page, the rest on another. They go for the push in mid. Top lane turret, obviously having gone down or getting very close towards it, is not the priority anymore. Baron buff used to escort this cannon wave into the turrets. Here comes the Fate's call, and they land slap bang onto the jungler again. Miru is gone. It's a 4v5 situation. The turret is being tanked by Ayla. There are no minions just yet, but this turret is surely set to fall.
Yeah, this game's starting to become a really sad affair for Direwolves, and that was mistakes on Order's side, a couple of really overzealous movements there. Hayri even jumping under the turret using his dash forwards and still can't be punished for it. And you might be wondering why Ayla flashed just to get nothing from Shock. Well, they got the cleanse, and that was all it only needs to look for that opportunity to throw the ultimate and the dive. Very successful here from Order once again now. They get themselves 2 inhibitors.
2 inhibitors, 17 kills to 4, but that might change just after this team fight commits. We're going to see how things go as Chippy jumps into the backline to start things off with, but after the World Ender expires, he can't do much in that situation. Order want to disengage. They've got what they came for. They don't need anything else, but the Direwolves desperately need resources. Cupcake unlucky not to connect there, as the CC would have spelled disaster.
They could chase this one. There's a teleport from Chippy, Skivvy.
They're definitely chasing. They are finding what they need. Swiper's going to disengage. Everybody on full disengage mode. But they may just find it.
They're trying.
Swiper in the try brush. No. He is looking to try and take out Vital one-on-one. He's going to go on down. Baron buff will be utilized at the very end of its tenure. Cupcake going to fall again. It's a 2v2 now. He looks like a karate ninja in the air. It's a trophy as he's participated in the under-15s MVP tournament. And it's going to be a 2v2. It's going to end. It's going to be done. The quarantine is over.
Hey, they pushed very far forwards, Direwolves, and Order really did get routed. Sooner or later, they had to turn and fight their opponents, and they actually got a couple trades there. Vital went 1-for-1 with Swiper, and Swiper was worth 700 gold. So at the end of the day, this was... Order overstayed their welcome pushing for a second inhibitor, and they got the inhibitor, so they can't be upset about this, but they got chased to the ends of the earth for this trade. Now, Vital and Swiper are the two that you should be looking at, because they do in fact go 1-for-1. Swiper starts the fight with 0 HP, but Vital with 10 million attack speed thanks to his lethal tempo puts in some work, and they almost get rare here. Very close, but unfortunately not close enough, as Cupcake dies before Shot can get to the mix, and they're not going to be able to lock him down.
When it came down to 2 on both sides, they definitely said, look, we don't have anything left, let's just disengage from this one and we'll fight another day. And that day may be right here. As Miru's going to flash away from what would have been the fight, but right now, a Fate's Call will secure a second engage attempt, and they won't miss it when it presents itself like that. Hayri is the one to find the execution on to the Direwolves ADC Prodigy. He's down, and down for a very long time at 30 seconds in excess. Order wanting now to push the end.
Yeah, threatening the end. I don't think it's going to be too possible with the Syndra still there. Has enough mana to clear a wave. They're actually just going to go for the 3rd inhibitor. Shock's going to get a chance to reset, get some extra mana. But waiting for the double supers maybe to start crashing, and that'll coincide with a Baron in 50 seconds anyway. If Order can't win now, they still have a free Baron on the cards to help after.
First Nexus turret falls, the second soon to follow. They're waiting as long as they can for Vital to come online, but it's just not going to happen because the Nexus is now exposed. They're going to go for the end. Cosmic Radiance is online, keeping his members healthy for such a long time, and that's enough to get Shock out of this one. He uses his ultimate, but nobody falls as a result. Order will pick up the dub, 22-6. You never doubted them for 1 second in that game there, Rusty.
Not at all, and that's actually, again, an improvement from Order. They forgot their healing cut in the first game of the day, but this time around, they never looked like they were out of it. They constantly had the lead. They accelerated that lead very nicely, and like you mentioned, never really at risk of losing that one by any means. They give over some kills to Direwolves like we saw in the game, but how far Direwolves had to chase to get those kills at all, it's very clear who was in the driver's seat in that game.
Well, momentum is found there for Order, finding some victories to give themselves some flawless runs in this one. That does it for game number 4. We're going to jump to a quick break, and when we return, there are still 2 more games left to finalize and close out Week 10.